Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan, guys. My name is Liaquat. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. We're going through Mukhtasar al-Qudoori, learning how to understand the Hanafi Fiqh. So, if you guys have been following our videos, alhamdulillah, I don't know what number this video is, but inshallah, you guys can benefit from past videos, inshallah. So, let's start off with the words then. So, salaha, it means to do an out of court settlement. Mu'ajjalatan means credit deferred. Right, so to defer, delayed. Sara becomes nafs, the exact. Haq is right. The nanir is gold coins. Mu'ajjala, we done that. 500, 500. Sood, it means low quality. Low quality. Bees, high quality. Right, so bees, high quality. صالح يلزم الوكيل, right, and that يضمن, to guarantee. والمال لازم, necessary. And then 4 صالحوا بمن وضمنه, again we did that before. ضمنه. Okay, صالحتك ألفي, my 1,000. عبدي, my slave. تسليم, to hand over. All these words we've done before anyway. عقد is contract. أجازه المدعى عليه, the defendant or the one who's made a claim, whose claim is against them. Okay, batala, become void. Alright, so next one then. So let's have a look at tarkeeb this time for you guys. I love tarkeeb for some reason. Okay, لو صالحه, صالح يصالح مصالحة, باب مفاعلة. على 1000, جار مجرور. مؤجلة is the صفة. أو على 1000, yeah, مؤجلة. جاز وصار كأنه أجل فعل فاعل. نفس الحق, الله مضاف إليه, مفعول به. ولو صالحه على دنانير غير منصرف. If you know why it's غير منصرف, put in the comments. إلى شهر لم يجز ولو كان له 1000, اسم of كان. مؤجلة صالحه على 500 حالة لم يجز ولو كان له 1000 درهم, مضاف إليه, becomes the اسم of كان. 1000 درهم سود, صفة of درهم. 1000 درهم. Is 1000 درهم سود or is it 1000 درهم سود? You let me know. What do you think is the correct one? فصالحه على 500 بيض لم يجز. ومن وكل يوكل توكيل فعل رجلا المفعول به بالصلح عنه فصالحه لم يلزم الوكيل. لم يلزم الوكيل ما is the second file. صالح عليه إلا أن يضمنه ويضمنه والمال لازم للموكل. فإن صالح عنه على شيء بغير أمره فهو على 4 أوجه. إن صالح, okay, so جار مجرور مضاف إليه. إن صالح بمال وضمنه تم الصلح. وكذلك لو قال صالحتك على 1000 هذه, okay, this is 1000 بدل, هذه بدل of 1000. أو على عبدي هذا بدل. تم الصلح ولزمه تسليمها, so تسليمها إليه. وكذلك لو قال صالحتك على 1000 وسلمها إليه. إن قال صالحتك على 1000 ولم يسلمها فالعقد مبتدأ, موقوف is the خبر. فإن أجازه المدعى عليه, so أجازه مدعى عليه is the فاعل. جاز ولزمه له الألف وإن لم يجزه يجزه بطالا. Okay. What is this mas'ala talking about now? So let's continue with our discussion on sulh. All right. So let's say, for example, this is the guy that is owed money. Right. So let's call him Zaid. Right. This guy is owed 1,000. Right. So he wants his 1,000. So question mark next to it. Where is my 1,000? And this is the guy that owes him the 1,000. And he can't pay the 1,000 at the moment. He's asked, can I pay in a month's time? Right. So this is the musalih. Call him the musalih. Right. So he's saying, can I pay in can I pay 1 week? Let's say 1 week. In 1 week, I'll pay you. Is that okay? So if he says, yes, you can pay me in 1 week, that means that this money now is now delayed now. And this sulh is jaiz. Now you see, technically, you can't exchange. So if you have two sides, if you got two sides over here, so let's say 1,000 over here, 1,000 over here, and this guy gives 1,000 and this guy gives 1,000, right? And I don't know why you're going to give someone 1,000 if you already got it. But let's say it's coins, right? And you want to get notes. So this is exchangeable. That's fine, that is. But the only thing is if this guy says, I will give you after 1 week, that's a riba, that is. Because there's an extra element. This guy's got an advantage of 1 week. So therefore, this is a riba because there's equal on both sides, equal. Plus, this guy gets an extra week to pay. So that's not fair. That's riba. So over here, we've kind of avoided calling it riba. How is that? Because we say ajjala nafs al-haq. So it's as though the haq that is 1,000, instead of paying it now, it's been delayed. So we call this a delay of the haq. So therefore, we avoided the concept of riba. Because remember, a Muslim's contract, we want to try and make it as jaiz as possible. So over here, to avoid falling into this riba situation, we've said an exchange has not taken place. Rather, what's happened is the money that the musalih owes, Mr. Musalih owes this money. We've just said a delay has occurred. That's all it is. So instead of him paying today, he pays in a week's time. That's all. So this is something also, it's very important for you guys to remember as well. Lo salahahu, if this guy, the musalih, was to do sulh with Zayd, ala alfin, of 1,000, muajjalatin, right? So delayed by 1 week. Jaza wa sara, and it's become ka'annahu ajjala nafs al-haq. It's as though he has deferred the right itself, not the money, but the right to pay. That's been deferred, right? So it's, this is why sometimes when people look at transactions and say, oh, but they're doing the same thing, like, some people say, oh, but Islamic banks are doing the same thing what normal banks are doing. No, it's not really the same thing. It's actually technicalities. It's changing the technicality. So as long as the technicality is different, then you get a different product. All right, next one now. So, walau salahahu ala dananid. However, if, for example, in this situation, let's say, the same thing happened, but instead of a week, so this is called this scenario number 1. Let's call this scenario number 2 now. So scenario number 2, he owes him 1,000. He owes him 1,000 silver coins. Right, this is silver. And now this guy has said, I will give you gold coins. I'll give you gold coins. 500 of them. Yeah, I'll give you 500 gold coins 1 month's time. Or well, let's say 1 month or 1 week's time. So over here, the delay in the time, so 1 week. There's nothing wrong with the week. The problem here is the currency has changed from gold to silver. That's the problem that we have. So because the currency has changed, now this way riba comes in now. So you don't have this equality on both sides because that does not equal to 1,000. Normally you're allowed to give 1,000 in exchange for 500, no problem. But because the coins have changed currency, then it falls into riba now. So, walau salahahu, if he was to do sulh, right? Ala dananir, gold coins, ila shahrin, up to a month, lam yajuz, it would not be considered to be jaiz, right? Because there is the element of changing of currency. And in riba, over here, the currency stayed the same. Here, the currency has changed from silver to gold and over a month. So now we can't really call it a delay now. So over here, we could have called it a delay. we said this came under delaying the right. Over here, what are we going to call it? You can't call it a delay, right? So over here is clearly it's a riba. There's no other way for it. Right? So we can't allow that. ولو كان له 1000 مؤجلة فصال على 500 حالة. All right. Let's say, for example, he owes him 1,000. So let's do a third scenario now. So a third scenario would be he owes him 1,000, but the 1,000 is supposed to be given in a month. All right. So the guy said, look, you owe me 1,000 next month, but for now, give me 500 and we call it quits. Right. So you give me 500. So it's basically minusing 500, but he wants it now. In other words, I'll reduce your debt if you give me 500 right now. So now what's happened over here? So you've got delay month versus now, and you've got a decrease as well. So a decrease has taken place. Instead of 1,000, you've got 500. And instead of next month, you've got now. Now, is that jaiz? Can we say that is considered to be jaiz? So he says, وَلَوْ كَانَ لَهُ أَلْفٌ مُؤَجَّلَةٌ. If he was owed 1,000 in a month's time, فَصَالَحَهُ, he didn't sulh على 500 حالة, 500 right now, لم يجوز. This would also not be jaiz as well, because there's no way we can call it a delay, because it's brought forward, right? So because it's brought forward, there's no way that we can call it anything else. So like I said, the main issue here is there's advantage that one side is getting. He's getting it now, right? So now does not equal a month. Delay is okay because it's basically just delaying what he's owed. Here he's getting some benefit from it. He's getting his money and he's getting some benefit. So this is why riba. So the first one is allowed, second and third one, and these two are not allowed. Okay, let's look at the fourth scenario now. So وَلَوْ كَانَ لَهُ, so let's try to fit that in here because they sort of all work together. All right, so وَلَوْ كَانَ لَهُ أَلْفُ دِرْهًا سُودٍ. So let's say, for example, he is owed 1,000, so this is scenario number 4. He's owed 1,000 low quality coins. So we call these black coins, right? They were like mixed with an alloy that made it look black. So silver coins that are mixed with a low quality alloy, so they low quality coins. So he's owed this low quality coins. And he said to the other guy, you give me 500 good quality coins. Give me 500. Instead of 1,000, I'll drop the 1,000, but you give 500 good coins. Yeah, good quality coins. So in this situation, this would also not be allowed as well. Why? Because again, on both sides, there has to be equality. 1,000 and 500, that's obviously a drop. And then low quality. Now, if it was just 1,000, he dropped it down to 500, that's fine, because remember we said last lesson, he's dropping his right, that's fine. But by asking for something better, good is better than low, just like now is better than next month. Therefore, he's asking for something which is an advantage for him. So this would not be allowed. So وَلَوْ كَانَ لَهُ أَلْفُ دِرْهَمْ سُودٍ. If for him, he was owed 1,000 low quality coins, فَصَالَحَهُ, and he did sulh, على 500 beef, good quality ones, لم يجوز, it would not be jaiz. Right? So in all these scenarios, these 3 scenarios, it's not jaiz because the guy on the right hand side, he is actually getting some advantage here. Yeah, like over here, he's getting gold instead of silver, change of currency and the extra month. Over here, he's getting now, and over here, he's getting good instead of low quality. Okay, so though that side is now completed, hopefully that should make sense to you guys, inshallah. Next. All right, next masla is, if there is a man, woman wakkala, if a man has, let's say, this is a guy, and he has told another guy, so let's call this guy his wakil, so Mr. Wakil. He's told his wakil, go on, do sulh, because I'm not good at discussing, matters with people. You go to this guy, let's call him Zaid. Right? You go to Zaid and you discuss with Zaid how to do an out of court settlement. Right? So the muwakkil, this guy over here, he is not good at negotiating with people. But this wakil, he is good at it. He might charge a fee for it as well. So he's good at this. So he says, وَمَنْ وَكَّلَ, whoever makes another person his wakil bisulh anhu, on his behalf. Right. So whoever, this guy, he makes someone his wakil on his behalf. فَصَالَحَهُ. Now this guy has done sulh with Zayd. Whatever sulh he does, so let's say for example, like he says, I don't know, right, let's sort this out. Let's I'll give you £1,000 and let's call it quits. Right, £1,000, let's call it quits. So this now, what's going to happen over here? لم يلزم الوكيل ما صالح. Though it will not become incumbent upon the wakil that thing which he did sulh upon. So the £1,000 he did sulh upon is going to be upon who? Is going to be upon this guy, the muwakkil, right, the original guy. It will not be upon Zayd, wakil. Obviously, it's for Zayd. The muwakkil is going to have to give this 1,000, unless this is the issue now. Unless wakil says this, if he says this, I guarantee. So I guarantee this money. I guarantee this money. In other words, if the guy doesn't give you, I'll give you. Right? So he says, I guarantee you this money. Once he says that, now the wakil is the one that will have to give it. Yeah. So the wakil will have to give this now. Right? So the wakil now is going to have to pay him 1,000 because now he said, I guarantee you over here. Does that make sense? Okay. So this is why over here, if he was to guarantee this, now he's going to have to pay in court, but later on he can get reimbursed from the muwakkil. Right, so the muwakkil later on will give him that money. Okay, so this is why he says, إِلَّا أَنْ يَضْمَنَهُ, unless he guarantees, the wakil says, I guarantee that you'll get the money. Well, however, the mal is going to be lazim upon the muwakkil. At the end of the day, the mal is going to become lazim upon. So lil over here means upon. Right, so sometimes the word li comes for ala. Okay. Now, here is where there are some strange scenarios you need to understand. That 4 scenarios for you to understand. فَإِنْ صَالَحَ عَنْهُ. Now, if the wakil did sulh on behalf of the muwakkil, ala shay'in, upon something. So let's say, for example, I don't know, he did sulh on how much? Let's say £500. Because I'll give you £500, okay? بِغَيْرِ أَمْرِهِ, but this was without the permission of the muwakkil. He hasn't consulted the muwakkil on this. فَهُوَ عَلَى أَرْبَعَةِ أَوْجُهٍ. And this is going to be broken out into 4 scenarios now. So there are 4 scenarios here that can come out of this. So he's made this sulh with Zayd, and he hasn't asked the muwakkil for consent of this. He's just done it without his consent. Then in this case, what is going to happen over here? So, okay, so let's write this down then. Let's first of all, so that everything's clear. Okay, so فَإِنْ صَالَحَ بِمَالٍ وَضَمَّنَهُ. So number 1, he did daman, he guaranteed. Yeah, so he's done sulh without permission. Remember, all of this is without consent. Right, without consent. Number 2, if he says my 500, yeah, actually let's change this to 1,000 because the muscle in the book is 1,000. So let's put it to 1,000. This will make sense. So my 1,000, my 1 grand. Or he says, my slave, so something which is obviously non-currency, my slave. Or number 3, if he says, I'm going to give you 1,000, and then he handed it over. In all these 3 scenarios, if he does any of these, then what's basically going to happen is that he will have to give that money. Yeah. He's going to have to give that money, and obviously he didn't get permission from the other guy, so therefore the other guy will not have to pay. It's the wakil that's going to have to pay for this. So in salaha bimalin, if the wakil was to do sulh of mal wa dammanahu, and he was to guarantee him he's going to get the money, tamma sulhu, the sulh is complete, right? So sulh is done. وكذلك, and likewise, لو قال صالحتك على ألفي هذا, I do sulh with you upon my thousand, my thousand. O ala abdi had upon my slave, I'll give you my slave. Just drop this case. Tamma sulhu, sulh is complete. وَلَزِمَهُ تَسْلِيمُهَا إِلَيْهِ, and it's necessary for him to give that. وَكَذَلِكَ, and likewise, لو قال صالحتك على ألف, just 1,000, not my 1,000, but just 1,000. My is important in this one over here. But he says just 1,000, and he hands it over. So in these two, he doesn't hand it over. So number 1 and number 2, he hasn't handed it over. But number 3, he's handed it over. وَسَلَّمَهَا إِلَيْهِ. Right? So in all these 3 cases, that money has now been given. The muwakkil does not have to pay a penny because obviously, he should have thought about what he actually said. However, the 4th scenario is a bit different now. So the 4th scenario is, if he was to say, I'm going to give you 1,000 like number 3, but doesn't hand it over. Yeah, he does not hand it over. So put question mark there. He does not hand it over. This is now going to be pending now. It's going to be pending upon who? It's going to be pending upon this guy over here, the muwakkil. So he's going to be asked whether he wants to go ahead with it or not. Right. So the other 2, it's gone ahead. Right. You can take him to court. But this one is going to be pending upon his permission. Right. So وَإِنْ قَالَ, and if he says صَالَحْتُكَ, I am doing sulh with you upon 1,000, وَلَمْ يُسَلِّمْهَا, but he hasn't handed it over, فَالْعَقْدُ مَوْقُوفٌ, the contract will be considered pending. فَإِنْ أَجَازَهُ الْمُدَّعَى عَلَيْهِ, if the mudda alayhi in this case is the muwakkil, if he permits it, jaza, it goes through. وَلَزِمَهُ الْأَلْفِ, he's going to have to give the 1,000. وَإِنْ لَمْ, meaning the muwakkil will have to give the 1,000. وَإِنْ لَمْ يُجِزْهُ, if he does not permit it, بَطَلَ, then this 4th one becomes void now, it becomes cancelled out. But these other 3 have been done. Does that make sense? Right. So the other 3 have technically been done. So this is very important to understand, that if you ever do something on someone else's behalf, if they haven't consented to it, legally in courts, you can't get the money back off them. Right. So it's very important to get permission from them before you do anything. That's what the main lesson over here is. Okay. So questions for you guys then. So وَلَوْ صَالَحَ عَلَى, a question now. If a person owes another person 1,000, and the other guy goes, give me an extra week to pay for this, is that allowed? Yes. And what does that come under? It comes under delaying a right. Okay, what if he does the same thing, but this time he says that I'll give you 500 gold in 1 month, delay it, and instead of the 1,000 silver, I'll give you 500 gold. Is that allowed? Not allowed. Why is it not allowed? Because there's no way for us to legitimize it in any way possible, right? Because it's riba. What if he does the same thing, but he says, I'll give you 500 pounds right now, right? So instead of next month, I owe you next month, I'll give you right now. So that would not be allowed because it's now versus delayed. And what about if he says, I'll give you 500 good coins instead of the 1,000 bad coins I owe you? That will not be allowed. Okay. If a muwakkil sends a wakil to negotiate a sulh with Zayd, and he does the sulh, who has to pay for the sulh? The muwakkil has to. Okay, that makes sense. What if the wakil without the consent of the muwakkil goes and he does a negotiation of sulh with Zayd? What will happen? So there's 4 scenarios. Either he says, I guarantee that I'll give you the money. Or he says, I'll give you my 1,000 or my slave. Or he says, I'll give you 1,000 and he hands it over there. And then in all these 3 conditions, what happens? In all these 3 situations, the muwakkil does not have to give the wakil a penny. And what about if he says, I will give you 1,000, so let's do sulh on 1,000, but he doesn't hand it over. Then what? In that case, it's going to be pending upon the permission of the muwakkil. Khalas. Everyone understand this? Now, obviously, this is a very sort of technical, probably people in their lives would not have come across some of these scenarios, but it's good to understand how it works in the real life. Yeah. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of this. If you have any questions as well, you can ask me. And also, I do live streams on Fridays and Saturdays where if you have any questions, you can come on there and you can ask me, inshallah. I will see you guys next time. Jazakumullah khair. If you guys want to support my channel, please spread my videos, share them with others, and also become a patron, a monthly support of my channel. It helps me a lot. Or you can make one-off donations as well. Check out the description below, or you can contact me. And thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.